Hi, everybody. We're another minute and we'll get started here.
Okay, well, I think we'll go ahead and get started. Welcome, everyone. I'm Russ Singleton. I'm a product lead here with FoodChain ID, and just want to go welcome you to our presentation on streamlining regulatory compliance. So today we're going to talk about the business problems around compliance analysis that we see being faced in the industry. Then we're going to talk a little bit about the compliance analysis solution that we have developed and provide a brief demonstration of that solution, which we're pretty excited to show you. Following that, we're going to walk through some of the use cases that the solution supports, and we'll open up the floor for any questions and maybe have a little bit of a back and forth about how this works under the covers. But first, we like to start with just the overall business problem, and for that, I'd like to ask Wes Ryerson to join us and talk a little bit about the problems that we're facing in the industry today around compliance.
Thanks, Russ. Yeah, welcome everybody. I know that we have a lot of a lot of people that we work with for a long time on here. I think that's kind of most of the audience is probably part of it in the past. There's a lot of interest in this, and we're trying to keep it as a normal. Yeah, and there's literally time for questions at the end, hopefully. So I just want to quickly set this up because we've been working at least in we've been working on these kinds of problems and with people doing these jobs day to day for a long time. So when we talk about traditional compliance assessment and why it's, it's a friction point, a bottleneck in a lot of organizations, I think most people here probably understand why. We're going to quickly talk through the kind of frictions we've seen over the years. Well, I started working with some of our customer partners a number of years ago and work with a number of PLM vendors right now to integrate this kind of technology in this. Traditionally, we are creating any evaluation for a single product version for like a single market for compliance. You've got to do a number of things, right? You've actually assembled the detailed information. You've got to then track and research the latest rules. Then manually analyze, everything that you're doing against the particular market. And then, the problem here is that it's pretty complicated work. It's often done, solely by the regulatory team. And because of, flavor, it's annual, it's often done later in the process. So quickly running through the questions, just assembling the detailed information. I mean, if you've got a specification and something like a PLM system, at least you have all the pieces there. But getting an actual compliance bomb, getting the right level of data, getting the bombs aggregated in the right way, because the way you're looking at a substance bomb is different than other views of the ingredients, the recipe, of the product. So being that together is, sometimes the thing you got to do it manually. It kind of forces the assessor to be a point in time event. It's difficult to kind of just do it on demand because it is sometimes, anywhere from minutes to longer than that to get together a substance on actually evaluating. In terms of, tracking regulatory rules, we obviously FoodChain as through the next list. When you get to, actually trying to keep track of regulatory rules, they're very complex. It's not just, a particular substance has a limit in this particular region. There's lots of rules around the combinations of materials, around things like usage and function. So keeping track of that information is very difficult. So certainly in the market that you're familiar with and ingredients that you're familiar with, you may know that stuff offhand. But it's certainly it's more complex to track that over time and to track, more complex combinations, say usage functions across multiple markets. So at that point, you're then trying to manually analyze these things. And that would be fine if you were doing it in assessment per, change or per product or market. But it's usually multiple versions of things, multiple assessments that are going on per initiative. So it's not like you're doing this one time. You're doing this over and over. And it's very difficult based on the amount of work and the latency to do one at work. There's a lot of times where you might consider making a proactive change or what if you can get some cost benefit proactively by making this change. Sometimes it's very difficult to prioritize the kind of work that says, what if I make this change to this ingredient and it affects, 30 different recipes and 100 different SKUs? What is my impact there? It's very difficult to find a time to do that kind of work. Or say I'm going to launch into 3 markets. I know that I have 10 different markets that I might want to launch into in the future. Teams seldom find the time to prioritize doing those kinds of checks ahead of time. And finally, this is pretty repetitive work. The way for, like I said, that every time it changes going through and it wants to get reevaluated, you're having to kind of reassess things that you've already kind of assessed. So you're doing the same kind of work over and over, and that often creates a backlog. I know that I've dealt with people about waiting a week for feedback and out and say, well, it actually takes me a lot longer than a week to get that kind of feedback. I wish I could get feedback in a week. And that's really not anyone's fault. It's just a lot of work. There's a lot of backlog. And when you're doing it in this manual way, it's very difficult for R&D to do early test checks, right? They are often would love to have a finger in the air assessment when they're making a decision, making a change. That's very difficult to do because they're at this point they're very much dependent on saying that through regulatory assessments. So again, if we work with people for a long time, this is what we saw years ago as a really big problem in most of the companies that we were working with and doing consulting with. And that is where this compliance analysis solution that Russ is going to walk through today came from. If you're willing to automatically apply very complex global regulatory rules against versions of your product at any point in time. So the idea what we're going to show today is something that's integrating directly into your ingredient recipe data. And it's because it's integrated and because it's automated, and actually perform these assessments at any point in the life cycle, from the very first version of the recipe down all the way, through every version, every change that you're making, and very quickly reassess where you're at. Like it's just any market you want. You can do bulk assessment, like I said, not just, comparing it to multiple countries or markets all at the same time. Because it's so easy and automated, it does support R&D self-service, which is really for everybody. And ultimately, because of this change, it actually supports a process transformation. And our customers that are using this, right? Meaning that you can actually change the way you're working in a pretty notable way. So we can certainly talk about it a little bit. But with that on the table, that's just again where we're the baseline, the problem we're saying that they would be familiar to most people on the phone. And one of the baseline is we talk about how the solution actually works.
Yeah. Thanks, Wes. So I appreciate that, and I get to do the fun part now, which is actually showing our solution. I'll give you a quick overview or kind of follow up a little bit on what Wes has already said, and then we'll actually show the tool in action. So again, what compliance analysis is a tool that sits between your product data and the regulatory library and regulatory assessment solutions that FoodChain ID provides. So as Wes said, it takes your live product data in a form of a list of components. So raw materials like flour or additives like citric acid or xanthan gum, for example. It takes those raw materials in addition to that, it allows you to set those, or it can either receive or you can set the intended markets and a few other parameters like usage and function in order to run the analysis. At that point, compliance analysis is really just then leveraging the rules in our regulatory assessment products to assess the composition that you send us and return a result for one or more recipes against all of the markets that were specified. And we, to be clear, as we're showing on this diagram, we work with a number of leading PLM partners to enable that compliance analysis integration from their products.